Elul is Ani L'Doidi, Mishmur says. Ani L'Doidi, if I take a step towards Hashem in Teshuva, then Doidi Li. Then Hashem takes a step towards me. So we have to take that first step. The idea behind this 4-part series is this is us taking that first step. Eight is in Teshuva, Yom Diyoima. We have discussed this week to hear from Rabbi Yaakov, Tzvi, Blejer, the Rosh Kollel, the Rosh Man, Kollel. I had discussed to learn the Kollel for a couple of years, and it's a very, very high level Kollel. Rabbi Blejer is responsible for bringing down quality B'nai Torah, who more often than not end up staying in the South Florida community, becoming like Kodesh, Rabbi and Rabbanim. So we've all benefited directly from Rabbi Blejer's efforts, and it's a big source for us to hear some Divrei Chizuk in Torah from Rabbi Blejer.
Thank you very much. Like Rav mentioned, that obviously the biggest chus is that alone, coming to hear Divrei Torah, if nothing else. Just by coming and everyone's participating, it's really the first step. And from here on is Kula Revach. Hope you gain something from the words. And but everyone should understand that the gathering together itself is a tremendous chus. So. I don't think it will be a surprise to anybody that we're going to discuss a little bit about Teshuva. And this time of year, we're less than 2 weeks away from Rosh Hashanah. And, especially, I guess, the people that are coming together here to listen, and most people at this time of year are looking for some way to change, to make some shinoi, some sort of step in change in Teshuva. But people tend to be kind of discouraged. And why are we discouraged? And why is it so difficult to actually take steps towards change? We've all been down this road many times. We've all been down this Elul path and Yom Neroim. And, can we really look back and say, am I different? I mean, many of us are. And every small little thing that a person does is really tremendous. But there are a lot of times that we kind of feel we've been doing this and it doesn't work, or I can't do it, or there's reasons why we don't really take it on all the way. So I want to maybe understand, why is it that we're so hesitant to change, and maybe change that a little bit. Maybe we could discuss a little bit some changes in the few minutes that we have that would encourage us this year to maybe have a little bit of a different perspective and take advantage of the days that we have left. So, the first thing is, because what is Teshuva? The Rambam says, Umeshana Shmoi, a person should change their name, meaning, Kloimar, what does that mean? Shani Acher. I'm not the same person. So, what does that really mean? What do you mean I'm a different person? What does that mean? There's, I heard a shir once from Rabbi Pinkus, from Shishar Pinkus itself. He said that if you'll ask somebody, let's open up the very first Siman Aleph in Shulchan Aruch. Very first Siman. Rabbi Yoel used to say that the very first words in Shulchan Aruch, Shavisi Hashem L'neged Tamid, he used to work on Shavisi Hashem, like to make it that he really felt that Hashem was with him. So someone said, why is that your main focus? He said, look, we're going to go up to Shemaim. They're going to take out a Shulchan Aruch, start testing you. Say, well, did you follow did you follow the guidebook or not? He says, I don't want to get the wrong answer on the first question. So the Shavisi Hashem is the first thing. I want to make sure I have that right at least. So in the first Siman Shulchan Aruch, it says that Kol Yari Shemayim should say Tikkun Chatzos. Every day you should get up, Chatzos Alayla, and say Tikkun Chatzos, wail about the Beis HaMikdash. So it says Kol Yari Shemayim should do Tikkun Chatzos. So you ask someone, why don't you say Tikkun Chatzos? So most people, he said, so maybe the answer is, well, can't get up in the middle of the night. I don't know. It's hard. But he says, I think that most people, you ask them, doesn't it say Shulchan Aruch, Kol Yireh Shamayim should say Tikkun Chatzos? Why don't you say Tikkun Chatzos? He said, the answer is, well, it said Kol Yireh Shamayim. I'm not Yireh Shamayim. It's not talking about me. That's the other person. He says that a lot of times we create this kind of boundary for ourselves, and we define ourselves as a certain type of person. And we limit ourselves based on the limitation that we create for ourselves. the greatest limitations that we have are those that we place on ourselves. There are things that kind of define a person, and I don't want to be that type of person. I asked a person a while, we have a chabur, just like I said, I'll slide out in the shul here, every time of day, there's something. So I asked someone to come in, do you want to come in the morning to learn? We have a chabur early morning before Shabbos. Do you want to come and learn? She said, I'm not a morning person. She said, I wasn't really asking about your personality, what type of person. I was asking you want to come learn. He didn't tell me, well, it's too hard. He didn't tell me I don't have time. My wife doesn't want me to. I don't really enjoy learning. I'm not a morning person. I'm potter from that. If I'm not a morning person, that's for morning people. I'm not a morning person. So, so a person sometimes has defines in their mind, well, that's not for me. I don't want to be that guy that when everyone's talking, oh, it's Lashon Hara, So it's not about, a lot of times, it's not so much about the etzem Indian that we're talking about. A person can make a change. The problem is that I'm so used to who I am and that I've defined myself that way that if I'm going to change, I'm going to all of a sudden become somebody else. I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with making that change. I don't want to be a morning person. If I'm a morning person, all of a sudden I'm held accountable to come in the morning. I'd rather not be a morning person and be potter from coming in the morning. So the one of the biggest ma'akvim is the way we perceive ourselves and the unwillingness to really change that. And if a person will say to themselves, well, I have to do the right thing, and there's an opportunity to grab at something and take it on, so even if, I don't know, that's for those types of, that's for the yeshiva guy, that's for this type of person, that's for this type of person, we have to be willing to break out of those limitations that we've created for ourselves. So that's a, I had a person one time that, I don't know, I guess they were starting or they were growing or maybe they were actually stuck in the middle. I'm not sure exactly. But he said to me, he told me, he says, he was keeping some things and not others. I don't remember exactly what. Let's say, he was keeping kosher but not Shabbos, something like that. So he says, I'm not religious, but I keep kosher. I'm a really good guy. So I told him, maybe you are religious, you just don't keep Shabbos. I didn't know. If I'm not religious and I keep kosher, I'm a great guy. But if I am religious, I'm a bad guy for not keeping Shabbos. So it had nothing to do with the Shabbos, it had to do with who I am, right? It has to do with, so the person, I think it's important, the first thing is to be willing to do what this Rambam says. Change one's own perception of oneself. Be willing to make a move, even if it's a drop uncomfortable, and be like, oh, even if it's drop uncomfortable, but let's not get stuck in our own limitations. Because really, a person has a lot more koiches than what they think they have. But we limit ourselves and we stop before we can go further because we've already created that kind of safety net where, that's not for me. So, I think that's one thing to keep in mind, and I think that's a big nekuda. And okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is a little bit of a deeper point, which is, I think the Aleph Beis, I think what most people think to themselves is that I've tried it so many times. It's not the first year I'm trying it, and it just doesn't work. I've said, this year I'm gonna come on time to davening. This year I'm not gonna say Lashon Hara. This year I'm gonna learn a little more. And whatever the Indian is, I'm gonna have kavanah in my davening. I'm gonna be I can get angry. All the things that we try to think to ourselves that we can work on, and then we get discouraged very easily. Why do we get discouraged so easily? Because we've tried and it doesn't work. We've tried and tried. It's not like we never tried. It's not like this is the first year that there's Elul Shiurim in the shul that we've come to. Every year we try to do this, and we feel discouraged from lack of success sometimes. Now, like I said before, even if it we may not have been 100% successful, but any step that a person does is very strong, is very meaningful. And over a long period of time, if we look back at ourselves, maybe we probably do feel that maybe we have come a long way and have changed. I'm not trying to take that away, but ultimately, can we make big changes? We feel like a little discouraged sometimes. So here, I think that the answer to that is the reason why it doesn't work is because we never really did it right. And I'll explain. There's a little bit of a chiddush, this mahalach that I'm saying. I heard from Rosh Yeshiva, Meir Stern, Yeshiva Pesach. Yeshiva, he said this basically every Elul, and I found it now this year in the Sefer, very, very similar idea in the Sefer Teres Avram, which was written by the Mashgiach and the Sabat Yeshiva, Avram Grudzinski. So he writes this very similar idea. And the idea is that we think that, what's tshuva? What's the chiddush of tshuva? Tshuva is a great gift, and Hashem gave us opportunity to do tshuva, and there's times like I seriously make tshuva that are mesugal to do tshuva. So, what's the chiyuv of tshuva? What's the chiddush? So the chiddush is Pashup Pshat, is that you could get kapara for what you did. You made mistakes in the past, and I could fix them. And in reality, the fact that I have to be better, I have to change. Of course, you have to change. The fact that you had a bad year doesn't mean you can have next year should be a bad year. You got to change because you got to change. But that has nothing to do with tshuva. You got to change because you have to always keep the mitzvahs. The fact you made a mistake once doesn't give you a heter to make a mistake again. So the future I have to change. The chiddush of tshuva is about the past. That's what I think the Meshach Chochmah says. That's what we think is the past. Tshuva is about the past. The future is beyond you. You have to change it. You have no choice. But the emes is it's not like that. The emes is that really, as Rabbeinu Yoina says, Avera bereres Avera. A person can get into such a deep rut and that they really can't change. There's a whole. If a person's an addict, so what do you tell them? You tell them, well, okay, just stop. You do tshuva that you messed up in the past, and just stop. They don't have bechira to stop anymore. You have to you have to go through a whole new process how to move forward. You can't just move forward. So a lot of us think, you know what? This year, I don't know what I did in the past. I don't want to focus on the past. I'm just going to change. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. A person has to think to themselves and be a little creative and be willing to face a little bit of, not get all depressed about how you made mistakes, but a little bit come up with a new mahalach how to deal with something. And really, I'll give an example just because, but it's Mufurish Gemara. The Gemara says that Olam Hazeh was created with a hay. Olam Haba was created with a yud. Why was Olam Hazeh created with a hay? Right? So the Gemara says, because if a person falls out through the bottom with their averos, they basically reach the bottom of the barrel, there's always hope to come back in. So the good is come back in, right? But hey, there's room to come back in through tshuva. So Frek the Gemara said, why did it have to be a hay? Let it be a ches. Hashem could have used a ches to create the world. Because if you fell out the bottom, you could come back in through the same way you fell out. So Gemara says, Lo mistaya milsa. You can't just come back through the way you fell. You have to come through a new mahalach. So, let's give an example. Let's say somebody, the whole davening, is playing with their phone. I'll take an example. It's not so interesting to play with this type of phone during davening. But if you have a phone that you're interested in playing with during davening, so the whole davening is playing with a phone. So you probably realize that it's probably better not. Maybe I should actually daven. It would be nice to daven. So this year davening, I'm not going to look at my phone during davening. But he said that last year too, and it didn't work. And then, quickly after Yom Kippur, after a few days after, right back to where they were with the phone. Why? Because they didn't really address the problem. It's just you're coming back into it the same way you fell out. You did it and you're just trying to change. It doesn't work. A person has to do tshuva. There's a certain mahalach how to do tshuva. Now, what does tshuva mean? So tshuva, Rabbi says, at the bare minimum, means charata and aziva. So let's say charata. So charata is translated as regret. Now, regret sounds very depressing, and nowadays, everyone's going to get all depressed, and we don't encourage people to do charata and all that. But at the very least, what that means is a person should think to themselves, about davening and say, I missed a whole year of an opportunity to daven. Davening is amazing. I'm not saying I'm a rasha, I don't want to get depressed, but davening is amazing opportunity. And a person can think, imagine next year it's going to be so many opportunities to daven. And I really I lost my opportunities to daven the whole year. I really want to take advantage this year. So now, it's not just a Kabbalah, just he faces the problem a little bit, and by facing the problem and taking a little bit of ownership and looking at it a little bit differently, so now he's not just trying to come in through the bottom, come back into the way he fell out. He's being choiser la'atzmai derech chadash. He's making himself a new derech. Comes up through the hay. Means, I'm not going to try the same thing I've been trying for the last 10 years. I'm coming from a new angle. I'm coming from a different place. And that's the hay. And that gives opportunity for a person to maybe attack it from a different angle. And it can work. Another thing that Rabbi Cutler writes also is a person can make a richuk for themselves. A person can make a geder for themselves. So they'll say, you know what? I'm going to leave the phone outside during davening. So now I'm doing something new. I didn't try this last year. Last year I said it'll be in my pocket, I'm not going to look at it. It didn't work so well. This year I'm going to try something new that I didn't try. So to try again and again the same things that we're always trying doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because we're not really doing tshuva. Tshuva is a tremendous gift, but you got to do it. You got to follow a little. So charata means taking a new perspective on it, understanding maybe the opportunity, maybe putting yourself in a new situation that you won't even get a gather to it. You won't even get near the problem. Then adding on a new mahalach, how a person can can succeed in their tshuva. So this is the idea of the ches and the hay. Rabbi Nira writes that he says, "Schar mitzvah mitzvah schar avera v'im bochar es ha'malves v'sara v'osa avera achas Kadosh Baruch Hu misrachik mimenu manichai v'zeh ha'pri ha'yotzi min ha'avera shemanichai no salas sagaris v'ein biyado yechoil es loser min ha'derech ha'im." A person can't really necessarily always change. We have the ability to do tshuva. We can't just try again the same things we've always been trying. So it's a little bit of an eitzah. I'm not here to give mussar. I'm just trying to speak out maybe a few eitzahs how people that are looking for something can maybe take a different perspective on something. So when a person thinks about an area that they want to improve on, certain midas, they want, maybe I should be a little more calm at home. Maybe, too many outbursts. So, okay, what are you going to do about it? You're just going to say, well, okay, this year it's not going to happen? It doesn't really work. A person has to think to themselves, what's an angle I can take on it? What's a certain angle that I can take? Maybe appreciate it more. Maybe work on appreciating what you have. A person has a family. A person has children. A person has a spouse. A person has so much in their life. I should really take advantage of it. I should really appreciate it. I should really think about it in a different way. Or a person could also give themselves a trick, like they, like what was it? I think Rabbi Shulevitz used to. I don't know, one of these shivas that it was. I think it was when the Yingalite would go home. It's on the bus. It was like bands taking them home. So someone would come and they would have cookies like on the van. So what's the cookies? He said, there's Sean buys cookies. This way you're not so hungry when you get home. In case supper's not ready exactly in time, when you get home, you're not on edge. You already had your cookie in the van, and now you can come in calmly. And so a person can think to themselves a certain, not a certain trick, a certain method, some tool that a person can do a little differently, and maybe use that as a way to get closer to Teshuva. So if the question was, that this time of year, why is it that we're not, always as successful or always as able to create change in ourselves as we would like to be? So I think these are two areas that we're discussing. One is, don't make a limitation for yourself. A person shouldn't think to themselves, well, I'm this type of person, or I'm not that type, or I'm not. That's not for me. No, that's not for me. So there was a couple guys by us, a couple people in our community. So they were in Koil for a couple of years, and they start working, and you come to learn. It's a really amazing thing. So I said, I would ask you a question. Why aren't you learning all day? He said, wait a minute, I can't learn all day. I'm working. Okay, that's great. Where are you on Sunday? I said, no, I'm a balabas. learning all day, learning first say Tzvi and Galayim, balabatim are potter. He said, no, balabatim is not. There's no bal. A yid is a yid. If you're working during the week, you're potter, but on Sunday you're not working. Where are you? So no, a person can classify themselves like I'm in a different category, and a person looks at themselves differently. So break out of those limitations, break out of that box, and see to yourself, what can I really do? If I can do something, I should do it. And try to break out of those limitations, those self-imposed boundaries that we've made on ourselves, number one. And the second point is that not to just try and make the same mistakes that we've constantly been making, and just try again, but take it from a different angle. Don't try to do the ches and just come back in from the same, it didn't work last year, I'll try again this year. It doesn't work. What you have to try is like the hay. Find a different way of looking at it. Maybe find a different angle. Try to find a different method. Try to find a trick that will help you try to reframe the opportunity that you have. Try to look at it at the situation a little bit differently. And this requires work. That's why we have a whole month to try to do it, or that's Teshuva, or whatever it is. But these are a few maybe ideas how a person can be zoich. Now the main thing is that a person should remember to, first of all, like I said before, every step that we've taken over the years, and every step that we will take, is any step that a person can take. It's not all or nothing. There's no all or nothing in this type of Teshuva and avodas Hashem. It's a process, and everything's a process. And every step we take is extremely valuable, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu appreciates it, and we see it for ourselves that we're growing. And being in the middle of the process is all we can really, all really we're being asked to do from Hashem. It says in the Gemara, the Gemara asks a kasha, Gemara Nidu Daf Ayin, I think, asks a kasha, that one Gemara says that Chafetz Hashem, the Mos Rasha, that Hashem doesn't want the Rishoyim around. Another pasuk says that he's not Chafetz b'misas Rishoyim. He wants him to do tshuva. So is Hashem Chafetz b'chaim? Or is Hashem not? What does he want with the Rishoyim? He wants them to live, or he wants them to die? It's steering the pasuk. One pasuk says he wants them to die. One pasuk says he wants them to live. So the Gemara says, "Kan b'oisin tshuva, kan b'she'ein oisin tshuva." Depends on they doing tshuva or not. So Matisyahu Solomon asked, "Well, if they did tshuva, they're not Rishonim anymore. So what do you mean And there's two types of Rishoyim. Oisin Tshuva, not Oisin Tshuva. If he did Tshuva, then he's not a Rosh anymore. So he said the word doesn't say Kama Sha'asa Tshuva, that he did Tshuva. It says Kama Sha'oisin Tshuva. He's doing Tshuva. If Hashem sees that a person is doing it, they're making effort, they're moving forward, oh, he's Oisa Tshuva. This guy, this Yid over here that's Oisa Tshuva, he's in the process, he's on the way. It's worthwhile giving him life. Because if I give him life, he's going to change. He's on the way. He's doing every day is better. But if he's not doing tshuva, then I don't need to give him. For that, I don't need to give him chaim. When we daven, coming to Yom Neroim, we say Zachreinu l'chaim melech chafetz b'chaim. Hashem, give us life because you're chafetz b'chaim. Hashem wants life. But who does He want life for? He wants life, the Gemara says, for ois and tshuva. Someone doesn't. Again. It does not mean that you're finished. It doesn't mean you're done. You're never done. It doesn't mean you have to be 100% successful. But it means that a person's oiseh tshuva. He's someone that's on the way. He has a mahal. He's trying. And he's trying with a plan. He's trying with ideas. And he has ideas how to improve. If a person can put themselves in that category of being someone who's oiseh tshuva, Hashem, for him, Hashem is chafetz b'chaim. Hashem wants him to live, because this person can improve. This person will not end up being the same as he was at the beginning of the year. So it comes now. We're approaching the end of Tavshin Pei Gimel, the end of the year, and we all want the bracha. Tavshin Pei Dalet should be an amazing year. Mitzvah Shem we shall be zucking to all the brachas. But we want that Hakadosh Baruch Hu should be chafetz b'chaim for us. Zachreinu l'chaim melech chafetz b'chaim. So we have to be ois and tshuva. We have to be in the process. We have to be trying to improve ourselves. And any step that we take is tremendously successful. And perhaps the eights that we're giving tonight are things that people can keep in mind, how this can be part of your plan of how to maybe to make this year a year of improvement, a little bit of change. And we constantly do that together, we'll grow. With Hashem, we'll have a gavaldik year next year.